and also the Chief Justice isn't there, there isn't any constitutional crisis because there is actually a second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. In fact, there is a third Deputy Speaker of Parliament. How do we, combine these two and reconcile and know that Ghana is indeed in a protective state? All right, we'll get into those issues, and also the issue of Sammy Gyamfi giving out, a gift which has turned to become sinful. We'll get into that area as well. Maybe we'll see how we can put this matter to rest and delve into other issues as well. Well, I guess will join us in the studio, but for now, we have a number of stories that we want to give you, series of it or a number of it. And Michael Adote is standing by to bring us the details. Michael, you're welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Annie.
How are you?
All
right. So let's go. Give us the stories.
All right. So let's go straight into the headlines on Good Afternoon Ghana. Now, in its quest to raid the country's forest reserves of illegal miners, Ghana Police Service cracked down on illegal mining, arresting 208 suspects and retrieving 99 excavators in a nationwide operation.
Between March and May 2025. A police statement released on Tuesday, May 13, said the anti-galamsey operations conducted between March and May 2025 targeted hotspots across several regions with significant recoveries made, particularly in the western region. In a major swoop around Samraboy along the Tano River, Wasadunkwa, Tigari Krum and surrounding communities, police arrested 58 individuals comprising 50 Ghanaians, 8 Chinese nationals, and retrieved 85 excavators and 3 bulldozers. The Western Regional Police Command separately apprehended 19 suspects and seized 3 excavators and 3 pump-action guns. In the Eastern South region, 24 suspects, including 1 Burkinabe national with 5 excavators and a cache of weapons, including 3 single-barrel guns and 1 pump-action gun retrieved. Upper West Police arrested 7 Ghanaians and impounded 11 Shamfans and 3 motorbikes. The Western Central Command arrested 85 suspects, 76 Ghanaians and 9 Chinese, and recovered 11 excavators. The Eastern North Command also arrested 15 suspects, including 1 Chinese national, and retrieved excavator control boards, monitors and a pistol. All suspects are currently undergoing legal processes.
To some other stories now, Samuel Atachian, lawyer for former National Signals Bureau NSB boss Kwabena Dubois, has cautioned that his client may be compelled to disclose sensitive national security information as part of his legal defense. This was after his client was rearrested on Tuesday on fresh charges. Atachian described the latest arrest as unjustified, warning that his client may be forced to defend himself with some disclosures.
To journalists at the court's premises on Tuesday, May 13th, Atachian expressed frustration over the development, saying it undermined due process. He questioned the motives behind the move, suggesting it may be part of a broader attempt to keep his client unjustly detained. Atachian also argued that his client is not a flight risk and is already on substantial bail, calling on authorities to uphold the principles of justice and fair treatment.
The judge was doing what they call a balancing act. It's not on the strength of what the Attorney General has, but the fact that you don't have to toy also with the liberty of the individual. So what the Attorney General wanted, the judge said, no, it's too long. So just use 7 days and whatever you think is residual to whatever you've done, and then come before me. But you see, this undermines totally what they are touting in the press, that they've gotten all the evidence against them, and they should even come for plea bargaining. This is a lottery of a trial. That we should all look at it from the perspective of the razzmatazz and the theatrics. This is a very painful somersault for the Attorney General to say, I want more time. A man has been arrested 20th of May. March, sorry. And he got bail on the 8th of April. So was Yoko sleeping on the matter? Yes. He was pleading for 14 days. So that they do, experiment with somebody's liberty. The judge said no. And the furthest you could have for the moment I mean, it's 7 days.
Though the specifics of the new arrest remain unclear, the Attorney General had previously hinted that Kobna Dubois is under investigation in relation to an internet connectivity case at the Ghana Water Limited. In a main case involving the alleged diversion of 49.1 million Ghana cedis, the court has adjourned proceedings to May 27th for a case management conference. The state has filed all witness statements and is expected to disclose them to the defense by May 20th.
And I was lawyer for former National Signals Bureau boss Kwabena Dubois speaking there on his client's rearrest. To some other stories, Member of Parliament for Southern Roxton Nelson Dafia-Mekbo has filed a suit against Asin South MP Reverend Johnny Timfodio on defamation. The suit filed at the High Court stems from a May 8, 2025 post on X, formerly known as Twitter, in which Reverend Fodio said that Mr. Dafia-Mekbo, as Vice Chairman of Parliament's Subsidiary Legislation Committee, must provide answers to some alleged payments. Reverend Fodio further suggested that a probe was necessary and accused the National Democratic Congress of benefiting from some monies while in opposition. However, Mr. Dafia-Mekbo, who serves as the chief whip of the majority in Parliament, has denied the claims, asserting that there was not even a member of the Subsidiary Legislation Committee in December 2023 when the incident allegedly took place. He contended that the statements are not only false and malicious, but were made with reckless disregard for the truth. He also seeks a retraction and public apology in both print and on social media, and damages exceeding 30 million Ghana cedis. Now, the New Patriotic Party is also questioning the decision of the president to appoint key National Democratic Congress executives into government positions without them stepping down from their party roles. The NPP believes this could have an implication on governance and flies on the face of accountability. Here's Nana Boachi, the national organizer of the NPP.
Several individuals, while holding influential governmental positions, continue to hold dual roles that may pose concern in terms of governance practice, legal stipulations, and ethical standards. Specifically, the following individuals remain in both political and public office, raising critical issues about potential conflict of interest and the need for compliance with relevant legal norms. The National Youth Organizer of the NDC, George Opare Ado, is a minister now. He's still the National Youth Organizer. Mr. Sami Jemfi is the National Communications Officer. He has not resigned, and he's still their Communications Officer. Basintali is still Deputy Communications, and Abisu, who is with the Minerals Investment Fund, is also still there. Osman Ayarega is also at the post. Meanwhile, he's an NCA. Ruth Sedo is with the NSS. He's still holding on to his post. Mustafa Gbande is at the Office of the Presidency. He's still holding on to his post. Elikem Kotoko is now the Deputy CEO.
Now, pressure is still mounting on the beleaguered acting CEO of the Ghana Gold Board, Sami Jemfi, as the opposition New Patriotic Party is calling on the President, John Dramani Mahama, to take decisive action against his appointee. Speaking at a press conference on Tuesday, the national organizer of the NPP, Henry Nana Boachi, called on the President to take decisive action on the scandal while citing the Cecilia Dapa scandal.
We also call on the President to immediately interdict Mr. Sami Jemfi as an acting Chief Executive Officer of Ghana Gold Board. Or at least, he should interdict him pending the conduct of the investigation by the criminal investigative authorities of the state. We cannot but remember when huge sums of money, and this is the principle here, please let's pay attention. We cannot but remember that when huge sums of money was reported to have been stolen from the residence of Madam Cecilia Dapaah, a woman who had worked in high places for over 40 years. Before the incident, had been NP since 2001, as well as a deputy minister and also a minister. And she is married to a well-known rich architect and a consultant, well-known, with nearly 60 years experience in the profession. She was made to resign. This principle is cardinal. Under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, a similar issue happened. Madam Cecilia Dapaah was made to resign immediately by the president. Investigations were duly conducted by the OSP against Madam Cecilia Dapaah and her husband. After what the OSP described as 7 months of extensive investigation and 4 months of collaborative investigation, it concluded that their investigation did not establish any evidence of corruption, corruption-related offenses, or procurement breaches against the suspect. We require the same standard to be applied here.
Now, the New Patriotic Party did not stop there. It also expressed serious doubt of the integrity of the Minister for Justice and Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayeni. According to the national organizer of the NPP, Henry Nana Boakye, the integrity of the Attorney General has been dented following corruption allegations leveled by A+, the Member of Parliament for Gomoa Central, adding that his continuous stay in office is problematic.
Attorney General, who is unable to respond to such serious allegations, he is unable to respond to these allegations well, but then he says that, first of all, he's been advised to proceed to court, but then he will not do so because he's been given a mandate by the president. He wants to concentrate. I find that weird. Look, in your daily practice, you always go to court. If somebody says you are a thief, you are corrupt, you have gone for 500,000 Ghana cedis to bribe appointment committee so that you can sail through vetting, and the person says that you are a stupid fool and is going to reset your mind, and you are telling Ghanaians that you are not going to go to court, you will not proceed to court. Why? Because you are focusing on your work. Meanwhile, court is where you live, is where you sleep, is your home. So, is it not scary? Is it not scandalous that Attorney General says that a member of his own majority caucus, an MP, not just anybody like me and you, an MP says that you are a thief, you are corrupt, you have gone for 500,000 Ghana cedis, and all you can say is that you can play in the mud. As for you, you can swim in the mud. So A+ should bring it on. And then you are rather inviting us to ask A+ what he knows about the NSS scandal. What is our business? Is that supposed to be our business? You have the prosecutorial powers. You are the man in charge. And you are telling us to go and ask A+ what he knows.
Away from the NPP press, let's do some energy-related stories where government has reiterated its commitment to clearing debts in the energy sector, assuring that substantial payment will be made by the end of 2025 or early 2026. President John Dramani Mahama, addressing participants at the Africa CEO Summit in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, expressed deep concern over the sector's mounting liabilities, which currently stand at 80 billion Ghana cedis.
On my second coming, we messed up energy sector with debts of almost 2.5 billion owed to independent power producers, to gas suppliers and everybody. And so what the previous government started it, but we're continuing it. They've been trying to renegotiate the debt and then see how we can ring fence it. We have some strategies for dealing with it. And I'm sure that by the end of the year, early next year, we should be able to make everybody happy, in terms of, dealing with that debt. We need to clean the slate, but in cleaning that slate, we must look at the whole value chain, because a lot of the problem is coming from downstream, the distribution end, because of the state-owned utility. ECG is not as efficient in collecting revenue. We are experiencing technical and commercial losses of about 40%. And I think it's only a state-owned enterprise that can survive when you're losing 40% of your revenue. And so we are going into the phase of private sector participation in the billing and metering to bring private sector efficiency in the revenue collection so that we can pay for the power we take from the independent power producers.
Now, President John Dramani Mahama also reveals that the government is actively engaging stakeholders and implementing measures to clear arrears owed to independent power producers and other service providers to sustain energy production and prevent disruptions.
Established a cash waterfall mechanism where ECG's revenues were supposed to be shared proportionately so that everybody got something every month. Unfortunately, it was not followed, and so a lot of debt accrued. We've gone back to the cash waterfall mechanism and we're adhering to it properly. So everybody is seeing something every month while we fix the distribution and people are queuing up. I said they should wait. We're going to do expressions of interest. We just got the report from the committee that's advising us on how to do it. And they gave us 3 options. One option was to go to one concession holder for the whole country to do the billing and metering. The other was to, if I remember, was to divide into concession areas and have multiple partners working with us in billing and metering. And so government is yet to take a decision. It's going to come to cabinet, and cabinet will decide on which option we're going for. And then we'll do an expression of interest, and then it's open to, there must be Ghanaian participation, there must be local participation. So even if it's an international company bidding.
President John Dramani Mahama there speaking at the Africa CEO Summit. That now, the Director for Business Services at the Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Akwabwa, has dismissed public calls for a reduction in electricity tariffs following the recent appreciation of the cedi, stating that while the currency stability is encouraging, several other factors must be considered before adjusting utility prices. He spoke in an interview with Metro Business.
Price that was determined, which was about 14.something% that was increased, was based on these factors. It wasn't based on the current reduction in the exchange rate that we are experiencing. So they cannot go back and say because we priced it 14% plus, the cedi has appreciated, so we are going back to change. No. What they will do is that in the next tariff review, then they will take account of that 3 months period. What has been the average exchange rate? If the average exchange rate has been like this, and therefore we are buying, when we buy crude oil, this is the amount of cedi we were exchanging for dollar. And therefore, now that the cedi has appreciated, it has significantly impacted. And therefore, that component, that element of the pricing, then they will take into account. So it will only have effect in the next price review. So the same thing. So electricity tariffs cannot just come down because the cedi has suddenly appreciated in value. It rather influence the next determinant. The next determinant, then they will say, okay, we've monitored it, it's looking good, so let's reduce it a little bit so that it cushions consumers. And of course, if they don't, we will fight over it because we'll say determinants are there, your exchange rate has improved, so why are you increasing your electricity? Unless you prove to me that other factors that negates it are also available.
Now, commercial transport operators across the country have announced plans to embark on a nationwide strike on Monday, May 19, 2025. The action is in protest against what they describe as the government's failure to enforce provisions of the Road Traffic Regulations Act 2012, which prohibits trading on roads, pavements, and at designated bus stops.
At the center of their concerns is Sub-Regulation 117 of the Act, which explicitly states a person shall not sell, display, offer for sale, or deliver under a sale goods on or alongside a road, on a pedestrian walkway, within 30 meters of a railway level crossing, under a road traffic sign denoting a blind corner or rise-on within an intersection, or on or alongside a road including a toll booth and a plaza. Despite the clarity of the law, the drivers lamented that authorities have failed to enforce it, allowing widespread disregard of the regulation. According to the transport operators, this negligence has led to unsafe road conditions and worsened traffic congestion in many parts of the country. The driver unions said the ongoing violation of the law is putting drivers and passengers at risk. The protest is being spearheaded by the GPRTU, the Concerned Drivers Association of Ghana, and True Drivers Union. The union also demanded immediate action from both the Ghana Police Service and the government to address the issue. They further warned that their strike will go ahead if no concrete steps are taken.
To the Ashanti region, where the Ashanti Regional Health Directorate is scaling up interventions to reduce rising cases of hypertension, especially among the young adults in the region. Addressing the media ahead of the World Hypertension Day in Kumasi, the Ashanti Regional Director of Health Service, Dr. Fred Adomako-Boateng, attributed the current trend to lifestyle modification in young people who are either not aware of having the disease or do not visit hospitals to report symptoms.
Cardiovascular diseases, including hypertension, account for most deaths associated with non-communicable diseases across the world. In Ghana, awareness creation for hypertension over the years has been very low, with 50% of persons with the disease aware of their high blood pressure status. Hypertension was also one of the leading comorbidities at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. A total of 126,110 cases of hypertension were recorded in the Ashanti region in 2020, making it one of the highest in the country. It, however, increased to 136,380 in 2023 and up again in 2024, with a total of 140,216 cases. Hypertension, according to Dr. Fred Adomako-Boateng, was steadily on the rise among the young and old, with many cases being acquired from unhealthy lifestyles such as lack of exercise, alcohol and tobacco use, eating of junk foods, among others. More worrying, he emphasized, was the fact that most people are not aware of their state until the unfortunate happen.
There are some risk factors that we already know that I think I have to highlight them again, which predisposes people to getting hypertension. And these are: 1, increasing age, family history of hypertension, overweight and obese people, physical inactivity, high salt diet, alcohol and tobacco use. These are risk factors that when people have, they are likely as compared to people who don't have to develop high blood pressure. And so to the general population, we are saying that lifestyle modification is key in addressing this menace.
In a related development, the Ashanti Regional Director is set to commemorate the 2025 African Vaccination Week and Child Health Promotion Week, aimed at improving child health and increasing access to essential immunization services. The Ashanti Regional Health Director, Dr. Fred Adomako-Boateng, underscored the importance of immunization in saving lives.
Parents and caregivers are encouraged to take children under the age of 5 to the nearest health center or outreach points to access a range of free services. These essential health services include immunization, vitamin A supplementation, deworming, growth monitoring and nutrition assessment, nutrition counseling, birth registration, provision and promotion of long-lasting insecticide-treated nets, health promotion and education
The World Hypertension Day is celebrated globally on May 17. However, it has been extended throughout the month of May in Ghana with key activities, while the African Child Vaccination Week is also observed for a week.
Away from health, now the managing director of JA Plant Pool, Ajua Frempoma Nimaku, has confirmed that the Ghana branch of the Lyon LZPU JAP International Craftsmen College will soon be established, emphasizing that the move aims at training students to improve technical competence and raise standards in heavy-duty equipment servicing and operations. There's more in this report.
The recent training program, organized under the new partnership, saw the participation of over 20 students, including staff of JA Plant Pool and international trainees. All participants successfully completed the course and received certifications, qualifying them to operate and support a range of heavy-duty machinery. According to the Managing Director, Ajua Frempoma Nimaku, the initiative bridges the gap between local capabilities and global standards in heavy-duty machine operations, citing that the new institution will serve as a hub for developing world-class technical competence among equipment operators and technicians.
For the future of this industry, we encourage you to take everything you have learned and apply them with confidence, diligence, and a commitment to excellence. As we prepare to establish Lyon LZPU JA Plant Pool International Craftsmanship College Ghana branch, this training is only the beginning for great opportunities ahead.
Some of the graduates who spoke to Metro Business expressed gratitude for the opportunity, describing the program as life-changing and essential for their careers.
It's been a very productive 1 month, and we're now here at the end of it, and we've all received certifications, so we can say it was a huge success. So the training covered 4 distinct machines in the Lugong machine family: the excavators, the bulldozers, the wide-body dump trucks, and a few others. And we've learned the basic electronic and hydraulic and technical specifications of all these machines, as well as gone through some troubleshooting scenarios with each one. And people here have been able to also share their experiences with these machines that they've had before now, because some people have worked on these machines before. And having this opportunity, having Mr. Peng being available to us, we were able to ask questions and get a lot more clarity on our procedure.
The certificates I have acquired after completing this training would enable me to compete within the job space. Additionally, I'm also very proud of myself for being able to go through the training successfully. I'm looking forward to applying the skills and experience in the excavator industry.
Une formation qui a duré, disons, 1 mois. Et durant ces 1 mois de formation, nous avons parcouru au détail près certains produits Lugong.
Now, news just coming in is that the National Security Operatives has discovered stolen gold and cash in the custody of some individuals, and the security agency, as we speak, is addressing the media. And so, again, the National Security Operatives have discovered stolen gold and cash in the custody of some individuals. The security agency is currently addressing the presser. My colleague, Ifwa Ando, is at the presser and will soon be bringing us updates in the course of the show. And here is where we end the news segment on Good Afternoon Ghana. Ani Ifwa Mpofo is standing by to continue with the rest of the show.
Yeah, Michael, thank you so much for the updates there. Let me also remind you that for about a week or 2 now, we have been discussing the success or failures of the 120-day social contract that's given by this particular government, and we're assessing whether or not it is a contract to go by or the government has actually let us down. We'll bring persons who have not have a bite on this matter to also come and join us as we continue to, review the 120-day social contract given to us by the NDC. We'll also get into the issue of Sammy Gyamfi. There are some persons who are actually criticizing the political class for being hypocritical towards this particular matter. We'll get into that, and later we'll also, raise the issues of what is happening with this government as well in terms of the economy. See the appreciation. Previous administrations are saying, well, you have to give the credit to us. Meanwhile, this government is also taking the credit for what's happening to the cedi appreciation. Now, we'll get into the issue of whether or not Ghana is in a constitutional crisis, because the minority is, holding press conferences seeking for an impeachment process to begin in removing the president due to the vacuum the minority thinks that the president has left without necessarily going through the constitutional provision in terms of who takes over when he's not around. But when Parliament is, sitting, what is the procedure as well? We'll get into that and speak with maybe the Parliamentary Constitutional Committee and then understand exactly how it works. Also refer or make references to the Constitution as well and explain some of the things, what the requirements of the Constitution says. Dr. Hassan Ayariga is the founder of APC. He will join us. And then also Nana Ofori is also the national chairman for the Progressive People's Party, PPP. He will join us in the studio. While Dr. John Osekwapong is a CDD VEP fellow, he will also help us understand what's happening. But Christian Egbert Mom Hesse is also here, legal practitioner. He will also join us, let us understand some of the legal expectations of these issues that we're faced with as a country. Let's take a breather. We'll be back shortly.
Anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath.
I'm a fat missy way.
The Pacho Bantama.
Machasi.
That's a cycle.
It's her smile. The fresh breath.
Me, Jidi said we used to Kel 360 toothpaste. Some kind.
Kel 360 toothpaste.
That's Kia. Kel 360 toothpaste. It's a gum protector.
Onim Jom Kasan.
Kel 360 did the way. Its cool mint gives me fresh breath and your confidence booster.
You will see so feeling when you know Kel 360 toothpaste.
Happy smile.
Kel 360 toothpaste, anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath. Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Whether you're a wholesaler, retailer, or consumer, MNC Logistics and Trading is your trusted partner in minerals and food commodities trading. Experience the difference with MNC Logistics and Trading for your commodities trading. We operate a well-equipped laboratory that smelts and assays gold to ensure transparent, credible, and reliable minerals transactions. Our general food commodity market deals with imports and exports of food products such as rice, sugar, and grains. We pride ourselves on delivering products that meet the highest standards of quality and taste. With our expertise in international trading and logistics, we bridge customers far and wide. Locate us at number 4 Neosai Interfo Avenue, East Legon, Accra. Call us on 030-299-8246 or visit our website www.mnclogisticsandtrading.com. MNC Logistics and Trading, hub of confidence.
So much love in the air.
What are we looking at?
Thank you guys for joining us on this unforgettable night.
Paw Patrol is on a roll.
It's Max Verstappen in the lead. The megastar is here.
Absolutely sensational.
Let's go!
Just taking a trip down memory lane.
Get unbelievable entertainment that is unbelievably easy to own. Get and stay connected to DSTV.
Several individuals who are holding influential governmental positions continue to hold dual roles that may pose concern in terms of governance practice, legal stipulations, and ethical standards. Specifically, the following individuals remain in both political and public office, raising critical issues about potential conflict of interest and the need for compliance with relevant legal norms. The National Youth Organizer of the NDC, George Opare Ado, is a minister now. He's still the National Youth Organizer. Mr. Sami Jemfi is the National Communications Officer. He has not resigned. And he's still their Communications Officer. Basintali is still Deputy Communications, and Abisu, who is with the Minerals Investment Fund, is also still there. Osman Ayarega is also at the post. Meanwhile, he's an NCA. Ruth Sedo is with the NSS. He's still holding on to his post. Mustafa Gbande is at the Office of the Presidency. He's still holding on to his post. Elikem Kotoko is now the Deputy CEO for Forestry Commission. Mr. Omane, Dr. Omane Buama, he's the defense minister. He was in charge of the elections. He's not resigned. I recall that even when I was elected as a National Youth Organizer, I resigned from Deputy Executive Director of NSS. Also, all regional and constituency executives who have been appointed into key government positions are still at post. You go to Ashanti region, their regional secretary is the regional minister. He's still at post. You go to Eastern region, I think the women organizer also was their women organizer, and today he's still at post. The retention of these dual roles by political appointees under the NDC administration raises significant legal concerns regarding the Constitution of Ghana, particularly Article 94, which disqualifies a person from being appointed a member of parliament or a public officer if they hold dual offices that are inconsistent with the principles of public service. Furthermore, Section 2, this is more important, Section 2 of the Public Services Act prohibits public officers from engaging in business or holding any other positions that might undermine their impartiality and efficiency in their official capacities. The continued holding of political appointments alongside public office positions undermines the principle of neutrality in public service, and these individuals remain bound by their party loyalties, which could affect their objectivity and ability to serve the state effectively. Have your Attorney General, who is unable to respond to such serious allegations. He is unable to respond to these allegations well, but then he says that, first of all, he's been advised to proceed to court, but then he will not do so because he's been given a mandate by the president. He wants to concentrate. I found that weird. Look, in your daily practice, you always go to court. If somebody says you are a thief, you are corrupt, you have gone for 500,000 Ghana cedis to bribe appointment committee so that you can sail through vetting. and the person says that you are a stupid fool and is going to reset your mind, and you are telling Ghanaians that you are not going to go to court, you will not proceed to court. Why? Because you are focusing on your work. Meanwhile,
that's Nana Bochi there, the national organizer for the MPP. Yesterday, the party held a press conference addressing a couple of issues, and one of the issues has to do with party officials that are holding public offices, and their opinion, by quoting Constitution and the Public Service Act, indicates that these persons who are now appointed into office by the president are supposed to either, abandon their roles as party officials or, abandon their roles as public servants. Well, we'll get into other issues, but let me introduce a guest to you. My former boss has joined me in the studio. I don't know if I should refer to him as my boss or I should refer to him as my guest, but all of that goes. Nana Ofori-Owusu is the national chairman of the Progressive Post Party, PPP, and I'm glad you're here, Nana.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Ghana.
For the opportunity.
All right. So if you want to know probably the cream I use on my skin, if you consult this man, he knows.
And he's a natural person. Everybody knows that she's a shea butter. They should do a commercial with Annie, on shea butter, because that's what she uses.
When you say shea butter, it doesn't really resonate well.
Inkuto.
Thank you.
Inkuto. Annie Inkuto.
Yes. Anyway, Nana, you're welcome once again.
Thank you.
I'm also pleased to welcome Dr. Jonose Kwapong. He's a CDD fellow. He joined us here in the studio. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I am glad to have you. We'll be expecting, we are expecting Christian Egbert Baum Hesse, and he's a legal practitioner. Has he joined us via Zoom? Okay. Christian, you're welcome. Good afternoon. Hello, sir. Hello, lawyer. Okay. I'm sure he'll be fixed, and then we can communicate with him. Dr. Hassan Ayaraga is also founder of APC, and he has been a very strong, opinionated political player, and always shares his views on some of these matters as far as governance is concerned. So let's get into the issues. As and when they join, they will also have a take or a bite on these matters. All right. So my guests in the studio, welcome once again. Let's start off with whether or not we are safe as a country, because it has been the minorities' headache in the past few days, and they have indicated what they want to do. So just a brief of what minority says that the minority in Parliament is exploring options of impeachment proceedings against President John Dramani Mahama, citing violation of Constitution, particularly Article 60, which governs presidential succession. Now, this follows the escalating agitations by New Patriotic Party MPs after President Mahama left the country while the Vice President and Speaker of Parliament were absent. Under the country's constitution, leadership passes successively to the Vice President, the Speaker of Parliament, the Chief Justice, and in the President's absence. Although the Chief Justice also is currently suspended with an acting replacement in office, opposition legislators argue that without a formal swearing-in ceremony, a constitutional vacuum has been created. Okay. I think I should go to the lawyer. Christian, can I hear you now? Am I audible, or can you hear me now? Hello, Christian. Okay, so if you can, my producers are communicating, your camera isn't on, and they're not sure if you're online. So let's know if you're on. Okay, let's come to CDD. If we are not getting Christian, as and when he joins us, he'll educate us on the law. As I open the law, please, what's your, Mr. Kopon, what's your first, are we in constitutional crisis?
Good afternoon,
yes.
Once again, good afternoon to your viewers. I don't believe we are in a constitutional crisis. I'm sure we would all feel and know what a constitutional crisis is in such a situation, right? If members, of cabinet, God forbid, were agitating, or someone just, from cabinet decides to take it upon himself or herself to say, well, I'm going to exercise certain powers that are reserved for the president or someone in parliament usurps the power, of the speaker. That, for me, is what you would call a constitutional crisis. But this, it's not as though the president is unable to perform his duties. He's traveled, except that I've also been reading that there is a constitutional case that was settled by the Supreme Court years ago that said that any time, the reading of that provision was that any time the president travels, you would have to swear someone in to act in his or her stead. It's impractical, right? If you think of the number of foreign engagements that any president can have at any given time, it means that, even when the president travels next door, is gone for a day, does that mean that we would have to swear in, let's say, the vice president? And then when he comes back, I think you need a more restrictive reading of what unable to perform the functions of the president.
So Mr. Kwesi Pratt earlier this morning on Good Morning Ghana made some analysis. He said the Constitution, that's why people are arguing that the Constitution has outlived its usefulness, because in the current dispensation, it looks like it has to capture the current possibilities, so it makes it more useful. So he said, when the Constitution came into inception, at the time it was actually being developed, we didn't have a world like this, where the president can travel and maybe phone calls might even be difficult, or computer can be difficult. Today, we have world leaders who sit in the comfort of their offices and join Zoom meetings, global, powerful meetings, and they're still able to, conduct their duties. So even in the situation where the president is absent, you can't say that even if the vice president is not taking over, the president is not working. He can work by what we have today, he can work from wherever he is.
Yes, but I do agree, right, that the world has changed, that we can't have this expansive view of what unable to perform the duties mean, even if he travels next door. It means that he's not present, unable to perform, therefore let's swear in an acting president. That would be too expansive a reading on it.
Simplistic.
Exactly. So you're right. I agree with you that this really doesn't present a constitutional crisis.
Okay, Nana. Okay, Christian has joined us. Christian, just to test your mic before I come to you. You're welcome. Good afternoon. Hello, Christian. Okay, kindly unmute. I think you're muted. So unmute, and then we see if we can hear you. Okay, Nana, for a while you give us your submission.
Yes.
Christian, kindly unmute.
Annie, this issue that the minority is talking about, I think is a fight for relevance. They are looking for their footing, and they are looking for issues to talk about. Because in 2002, during President John Agyeku Kufuor's reign, he was not there, his vice was not there, and they went and swore in the then Speaker, Allen Ajete.
Yes.
Then Professor Asari took this thing to court for interpretation and said that it was unconstitutional that they swore in the Speaker. The court agreed with Professor Asari and said that the swearing of the Speaker was unconstitutional, and that the decision clarified that temporary absence of the President and Vice President do not warrant the Speaker assuming presidential duties. The implication is that interpretation of Articles 60, 11, and 12, emphasizing that constitutional provision for succession apply only in case where both the President and Vice President are unable to perform their duties due to specific incapacitating circumstances.
Exactly.
Not about travel. So this case has been decided upon by the Supreme Court in 2002. So the insistence, now there's an extension.
If I understand what you're saying, or if I even want to also expatiate, maybe the Supreme Court didn't even want to overly dramatize what happened, because then that could be tantamount to maybe a coup. I'm afraid to say, but
they interpreted the unable in the Constitution.
Okay.
They interpreted the unable to mean situations such as death, resignation, removal from office, or incapacitation, not temporary absence from the country. The court interpreted this.
Temporary absence?
Yes, they made it clear to us in a ruling in 2002 under Professor John Agyekum Kufuor's reign. And so this issue that a whole press conference has been called to talk about this, then you couple that with modern technology, as we are talking about. So if at that time, the communication dating back, you see, it was situated in the history of coup d'etats. It was situated in the history, Kwame Nkrumah was in Helon when he was overthrown in Ghana. And the successive coups, military intervention in government, left a certain phobia, a certain fear. And that is how you see some of these things creeping up into the Constitution. But when you go for the interpretation based on today, as the Supreme Court ruled in 2002, a president being out of the country or vice president being out of the country does not warrant you. So they actually swore in the Speaker, Alan Ajete, as the acting president. And the Supreme Court says that that swearing in of Peter Alan Ajete as the acting president was unconstitutional. And then they interpreted the unable to mean certain things, specific things. And they said that it means that if they have passed away, they are unable to death, resignation, removal from office, incapacitation. But they also said that not temporary absence from the country. So what is this about?
What's temporal absence?
They have traveled.
Yeah, but that's...
So
how do we define temporary absence? I think that also needs...
No, but you see, they said, the Constitution says when they are unable to perform their function.
Okay.
And they have defined the unable, the Supreme Court. And their able has to do with death, incapacitation, removal from office, and the rest. And that is what triggers the processes to say that you need a replacement and to be sworn in. So once they said that the swearing in was unconstitutional, what are you crying about now? What are you crying about? Are you saying that the Supreme Court's interpretation is not right? Then go to the Supreme Court and seek for interpretation. But to come and waste our years on these things when it has been settled by the courts, the highest court of the land has already ruled on the matter, unless they have not read this. But if you read this, it's clear.
That would be surprising.
It's a clear interpretation.
Let me see if Christian...
The only difference is there. This had to do with 3 levels. Now they are talking about 4 levels.
Yeah.
You know, the president, the vice, the speaker, then the judiciary.
But even the judiciary...
But the court is clear that
even... The Constitution does
but you can't swear
specifically...
in... Even the CJ was there. You can't swear in the CJ by the Supreme Court's own ruling. So what are we in a crisis for or with? You can't swear in the CJ. You can't swear in the speaker when they are not there. You can't even swear in the vice president to be president because per the interpretation, they are unable to perform duty has been defined by the Supreme Court. So to me, I think this is much ado about nothing. The normal politicization of everything in this country, and the minority desperately searching for relevance. You know, every day there's a different issue, and there's a strategy. You see, the minority has adopted a strategy. Party leadership have lost their relevance due to the loss. When they speak to their people, they don't listen. And so they have adopted a strategy that the members of parliament want their constituencies. So they have a certain legitimacy. So they are using members of parliament now to speak on all issues. So if you look at the attack of the minority party, the MPP, the attack is coming from from the parliament, because they believe that those 80-something people want their constituencies, therefore they have legitimacy. And they are
but there's no factual backing on the allegation you're making.
Oh, it is my interpretation of the political scene.
I will
and
agree.
If you look at, if you just do a mental cursory for the last 1 month or two, Alex Markin has become the face of MPP. And he's launching the attack from Parliament. And then he has organized his people to also have different subject matters on the launching of the attack. Unlike having their communication sector be the lead, they have taken the lead. So you have to look at all of this and analyze it. And there's a search for relevance. So if you remember the drug matter that has now died out, they launch it from Parliament, isn't it? Then the other topics that have been coming up is all press conferences from Parliament. So when you study that dynamic, it's an attempt to look for relevance. It's an attempt to try and ginger the grassroots, because right now they are in a state of disarray. They are still suffering from the loss.
Understand? He's a politician.
Yes.
He's a politician. But let me
this is a political scientist analysis that I'm giving you.
I mean, we accept.
And my brother will not shy away from what I'm saying. Yes.
Let me try Christian again. Christian, can you hear me? Hello, Christian. Okay, I seem to be struggling with you. Christian Mamhese is a legal practitioner. We just want to have his take so that it's fair that we listen to all sides and what people are saying. Does not really matter, even if you think they don't have a point. We still have to hear them. Christian, can you hear me now? Hello? Okay, so it doesn't even look like he can hear me. So producers, please, you have to work on that, because that's making me struggle a bit. How about Dr. Hassan? Is he around? Okay. Okay, so please fix Christian before you come to me. Don't come to me if you haven't fixed him. Please. Thank you. Doc, so I think just final word before we move on to other issues. We have some other issues to touch on. So what will be your final word on this matter after Nana has given his political scientific breakdown of what he thinks is happening?
But yes, again, for me, I think if there is a constitutional crisis, we would see what a constitutional crisis actually looks like. As to, whatever is motivating the minority to take this position. I mean, if they are concerned that the president, the VP speaker are all out, fair enough, but to go as far as saying it puts us in a state of a constitutional crisis, and even going as far as saying
they want to trigger
you are even contemplating and triggering, I think that is really pushing it a bit.
But isn't that even a joke? Can you get 2/3 of parliament?
Yeah.
What percentage?
But even if it's considered as a joke, why would you joke like? Because
no, I'm saying that what they are saying is not a serious.
Yeah. So I'll be surprised if he doesn't even know about this ruling in the Supreme Court of the speaker being sworn in. That's a ruling. And I think the breakdown is well understood, even for non-lawyers to understand. So why? Wouldn't that be too serious a joke?
Yeah, but I think if you also put it within the context of partisan politics, then you can see why certain agitations would come up.
We still have some gullible ones who will be...
Yeah. So grassroots.
Okay. Yeah, I think Council has moved from the Zoom to the phone. Christian, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear
you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Panelists.
Good afternoon to you. Christian Mamhese is a legal practitioner. So maybe you add your legal bit to this matter. We're rounding up on it, and then we move on to other issues.
I was lost out on it. If you could help me to.
Okay, so we're dealing with what is said to be a vacuum that's been created by the president in traveling, and no one seems to be in charge. The minority is threatening to trigger a impeachment process and all that. What would you say legally? Are they on the right path? or they are wasting their time?
Okay, it is not a dire situation. I mean, it is not that there is a necessity. There is, if I would put it, a vacuum per se, or vacuum simpliciter. Indeed, I mean, if you look at Article 57, it indicates the hierarchy, which deals with the fact that aside the president, the vice president, and then comes, It indicates that kind of succession to the Chief Justice. Now, it was never the situation that the framers of the Constitution envisaged that there will come a situation where a substantive Chief Justice would be suspended and will have an acting. Mm-hmm. However, as it is, some of legal scholars believe that, however, the Chief Justice is acting, the acting Chief Justice acts under oath, and that is how come the acting Chief Justice is able to carry out the functions as prescribed under the Constitution of a substantive Chief Justice, albeit that he has not been confirmed as the substantive. So, but while that is yet to be done in the foreseeable future as to whether he would be or another person would occupy that position, he's carrying out that particular function. Now, the thorny legal question now is, or the lacuna is, since the Constitution did not envisage that, can the Chief Justice step in that position? And if the Chief Justice would step in that position, as in the acting Chief Justice would step in that position, who would run or render or cause the presidential oath to be administered on him? So that is the point. And even with that, purposive interpretation would come in to heal the Constitution in order to avert a vacuum for the administration of the country to run. Because if purposive interpretation...
But Christian, I'm sorry, as you're making reference to the lacuna, okay, so you're making reference to the lacuna, and by reference to...
And I'm saying that if purposive interpretation does not come in, and we just go by literal interpretation, then it would mean that the Constitution will not be a living document, and the Constitution will be cut out of time. And that cannot be allowed to happen, because by decided authorities, you look at Asari and AG, you look at decisions by Adade JSC, by Dateban, the Constitution is to be construed purposively in order to get the objective and the subjective interest, so not to render the conclusion as we are looking at now incorrigible. Because if we are to have it literally, then we will say there's a vacuum, and in that vacuum, there's no leader. And that cannot be, a country cannot exist in such a state. You get it? So the literalist approach to it has far been departed from in constitutional interpretation. And purposive interpretation is one which we have embraced. And when we go by purposive interpretation, it will cure some of these lacunas so that the state as Ghana will be pluralistic and progress.
So I was asking you about the lacuna you stated. If indeed, are we on the same page that there's a lacuna? Because I think with the analysis we've done in the studio, and by making reference to the Alajete case, which has been interpreted by the Supreme Court, it is clear what the judgment said. It is clear what the definition of a president that's incapacitated means. And so to be just straightforward, we don't have any lacuna.
No, what I'm saying is that the Constitution never envisaged that a Chief Justice, a substantive Chief Justice, will be suspended for us to have an acting Chief Justice. So, however the definition is, this is what we have. But in dealing with that, purposive interpretation cures that. That's what I was saying. You were trying to interject. So, I mean, the flow, the submission was interjected, but I concluded. So, the submission should be construed as a whole. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, do you agree? You agree, Nana? You also agree with him? Okay, then Christian, I think we're on the same page. But so, do you think that the minority will have a case pursuing, not necessarily pushing for maybe an impeachment, but change its?
The interpretation by the minority from my submission has made it clear that the interpretation by the minority is one of a literalist approach, and that approach has long been departed away. So that if we are doing purposive interpretation to cure that particular mischief, then that which they are complaining about will not arise. So, but everybody is entitled to expressing legal scholarship. So they could go to the Supreme Court for interpretation.
All right. Okay. We'll move on to the other issues. I'm sure the guests in the studio do agree with you, so they may want to go for interpretation before they trigger any other thing that they want to do. But let's get into other legal issues that also having to do with the party executives who have been appointed by government. They are now into offices. Almost all party executives have been appointed. But, speaking to them one after the other, all of them are saying that they are not having any conflicts. The MPP has held a press conference, and we saw the national organizer again speak to it and quoted a section that's the Public Service Act, and indicating that it's a conflict. It's not going to allow them to, perform to our satisfaction or as they expected, and so they are calling for all the appointees to either denounce their positions as party officials or as public servants. Lawyer, I'll pick your thoughts first before I come to the studio.
No, when you say, I'm quite lost. When you say party executives, what are you talking about, please?
I'm talking about, for example, Sami Gyamfi is the communications officer for the NDC.
Oh, okay. Normally with these things, they are deeply political matters that, for me as a lawyer, I basically love to comment on legal matters, so that if it's deeply political matters, I rather save myself of it. So with the greatest of respect.
But if they quote Public Service Act and they explain
I understand the fact that they are quoting Public Service Act, but these are deeply political matters. And for me, when it comes to legal education, I am very all for it. But when it's deeply into politics, I love to move away, and then so I deal with legal matters that I can render education to the public.
Okay. Christian, then let's leave you there, because I don't want to complicate your issues.
Yes.
I really would want to respect.
Because I didn't get that from your producer.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Christian, for your time. But Nana, let me come to you on that, and I will pick your thoughts first, because you are an active politician. So, what do you think of this issue that has been raised again by the MPP?
There is no constitutional provision that supports the position of the MPP. They are quoting Public Service Act and some other things, and that also does not directly state that someone holding a political office in a party cannot hold a public office. It speaks of conflict of interest, being fair, being impartial, and all of those things. But there's nothing that bars a person. So there's no legal basis. What they're asking for is a moral situation, a moral call. And I think it should have been brought from that perspective. That if you are saying that, morally speaking, a person who is conflicted by way of being a political activist should not hold a direct public position, and as such, the person should consider this. It's a whole different call. But if you are trying to bring it that there's something wrong, you must state the wrong constitutionally for us to be able to deal with it. And the New Patriotic Party that taunts itself as having the legal people and all of these things, all this talk is too much. Go to court, file it, go through the process, let us know that you are challenging certain status quo, you are looking for change, but spending your energy to do press conferences talking about things that are not illegal per the Constitution, I think sometimes waste our years, because they have not, you notice that their press conference cleverly, they went away from the Constitution and they went to Public Service Act and the things that they quoted all. There is no direct saying that is talking about political office and public service orders. There's none. And then if you look at governance, governance emanates from political parties, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The president was once a flag bearer of a political party that sought the mandate of the people to become the president. Does it mean that the president himself is conflicted because he belongs to a political party and we are saying that he cannot lead because he's partial? Was that the case with Nana Akufo-Addo? Is that what they are telling us? That Nana Akufo-Addo was a partial president? If they are making that case, then we can extend it. But if they are not making that case.
But Nana B has made a case that when he was appointed to NSS, he resigned from his party office so that he can work effectively. Because
he valued maybe the NSS more than his party office.
So that was his decision.
That's his personal judgment. You see, there's a fallacy of inductive reasoning. You can't take from a particular and make it a general. Because I did this, everybody should follow. That is not how you reason and you make logic. Scientific analysis, you take from the general, then you work it to the particular. He has reversed it. And once you reverse it, it makes nonsense of what you are saying because it is not scientifically correct. It is not, as a researcher sitting there, he doesn't take from a particular and bring us generalizations from the particular. He does deductive analysis from the general, he brings it to a particular. So I don't know why he made that statement. You are not the barometer, the test, the litmus test of what constitutes the right thing or moral judgment to us. You are not the Pope of Ghana. You can't. So what you say by yourself, is for yourself in your private room, and you tickle yourself and you say it. But when you bring it into the public space, and it is scrutinized, as we are doing now, it doesn't hold water. Because are you saying that the appointing authorities of Ghana do not understand the Constitution, and that there are no prohibitive clauses that allows them to do what they did? Point to those prohibitive clauses, and let's deal with it. And if you think that you have those prohibitive clauses, don't come and tell me, Annie, you are a party full of lawyers. Proceed to court and go and challenge it. And let us all engage in this intellectual exercise, and let's see if we can come to a consensus. And let's see what the court will say about it, so that we'll be able to have some type of a... But you see, that's what I'm saying, that there is over-politicization. The quest to try and find something that will stick, that will become their rallying point, they are just throwing things all around. So, Nana B, there are reports about you, that you were wearing Tommy Hilfiger dresses to do campaigns, and people saw you as part of the reason why they lost, because you were looking too affluent and now you are wearing political suits to try and go through those things and reduce those things. Is that also the case? I am saying that let us engage in politics of intellectual debate. This is not intellectualism, because you did not point to any constitutional clause that prohibits such a thing. So your preference, like he rightly stated, your preference of putting down the position to take another position is based on your value system and your judgment.
Okay.
But there is no clause that made you do what you did.
Okay.
And so you can't project
what you did on
what you believe in, or what you like, or what you think, or what you prefer. I prefer apple pie. Somebody prepares fufu. So is that a case? Is that something to make a case about?
Right.
That it should be applicable to all of us?
Right. Doc, I just want to ask you if you think that the NPP, maybe from your point of view, are they clutching on straws?
So the typical opposition party behavior is normally one where you're looking for areas where you can fault a ruling government or a ruling party. It's very typical of opposition political parties, not even just in Ghana, right? 9 out of 10 times, it's rare to see an opposition party come out in full praise.
But I see this as a little extreme. I can understand that is your work, to look at the government and scrutinize, but it definitely has to be very commonsensical to the right-thinking member of society. And I'm looking at the Sammy Gyamfi issue, for example. The party is divided into two in terms of MPP, who thinks that Sammy Gyamfi must be removed, and those who think that, forget them, they're being hypocritical, you know. So I'm looking at all the issues they're bringing up, and you have quite a large number of this same opposition party defending that. What are you trying to say? What's the wrong of Sammy Gyamfi? You know, this matter the same. You have persons who are speaking against that. No, don't. Why?
But when you also look at opposition politics, you also sometimes have to ask yourself, on a particular issue or on a particular press conference, who is the audience? Who are they targeting? There are legitimate governance issues that I would believe that on some of those things, the targeted audience is not just the party partisans, but, as you rightly said, your average citizen who needs to be aware of these things. And then there are some of these things that I believe it's not your regular everyday citizen that is the target, right? Mm-hmm. Some of these things are directed at party partisans to ensure that you're still engaging them, you ensure that post a historic defeat, that they are still energized politically, you're still engaging with them. So some of these things, even as you couch it as matters of good governance, because surely you want to make sure that if a party official is also holding a political appointment, right, that, you hope that the two wouldn't conflict, right, that they know when to wear their party executive hat and then know when to wear their public servant hat in the service of all Ghanaians and not just the service of party people. But I think some of these things are geared more towards the party and their base and not necessarily all Ghanaians. Because some of the issues tend to be a little, why are you making this a big governance issue than it really should be?
So Annie, then these people should become the number one advocates for members of parliament not to become part of the executive. But they have enjoyed that. MPs becoming ministers. How come they don't see a conflict in that sense?
But I think when it comes to that requirement of the Constitution, we've all criticized it and said that we want. That's
but what I'm saying
one of the reasons we want to
what
change.
they are asking for is consistent with the variation with the MPs and ministers, because you are a member of parliament by instance of your party and the people who voted for you. then you are made a minister, and you are holding both positions, and you don't drop one for the other. So when their party members, the MPP people, when they were in power and they were enjoying such a situation, how come they did not see that as being conflictuous with the moral compass that they are asking of us?
Let's do a quick one, and then we will have some time on 120 day. I have some 30 minutes more. Hassan Ayariga has joined us via phone. Hassan Ayariga is a founder of APC. Hassan, thank you so much for your time. You're welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your panelists.
Right, thank you. Well, I'm in the studio with Nana Ofori-Owusu of the PPP, and also Dr. John Osei-Kwapong is a CDD fellow who has also joined us in the studio. Hassan, well...
My greetings to the gentlemen.
Okay, I'm sure they've responded. So we're dealing with some of the issues that have been raised by both the minority and MPP together as one. The minority, held a press conference talking about a vacuum they claim has been created by the president, and there is no Speaker of Parliament, there's no Vice President, and so they think that they want to trigger, the procedure of impeachment against the president. The party has also held press conferences criticizing issues of Sammy Gyamfi giving out gifts, and they think that he has to be sacked to set an example. And they're also raising issues of the party officers who are now holding public offices, and they think that it's also some conflicts there, and they are expecting them to step down, leave one of them so that they can, produce effectively. So maybe your take on that, and then we get into 120 days.
My take on the 120 days or the constitutional...
No, all the constitutional issues have been raised.
I think, let's look at the constitutional provision, but that is of keen interest to me. Under the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, it is constitutional for both the president, vice president, to be out of the country at the same time. We've seen evidence of it in the last administration, and they are all legally clear. But you see, they must ensure continuity of the executive authority. And in doing that, if you look at Article 60+8 of the Constitution, it says, whenever the president is absent from Ghana or is unable to perform the function of his office, the vice president shall perform those functions until the president returns or is able to perform those functions. Then they say, if both the president and the vice president are unable to perform their function, the Speaker of Parliament acts as president. That is Article 60+11. Now, in our case, both president and vice president were out. So what it means is that the Speaker of Parliament becomes the acting president, and he must be sworn in as president to act on that. And even before the president leaves the office and the vice president, there must be communication to the chief of staff or cabinet or parliament stating the president and the vice president will be counted.
I think we just corrected the issue of the speaker being sworn in by citing the case of Alan Jete, who was sworn in, yes. There was a ruling from the Supreme Court.
I was not following your proceedings.
Okay, there was a ruling from the Supreme Court that, the speaker didn't have to be sworn in. If the Constitution has just required that you take over, you just take over.
The Constitution requires you take over, but under Article 11, it requires that you must be sworn in. I can't hear you. You're out.
No, okay, so I'm saying that there was a ruling in 2002 about the Peter Alan Jete at the time, who was sworn in. The Supreme Court indicated that he didn't have to be sworn in.
Okay. If that is the provision by the Supreme Court,
yes.
Then what it means that he takes off office automatically.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fine. So I don't see anything wrong when both vice and president are out for, let's say, presidential activities. That's fine. Okay. But then the communication must be clear to the speaker or to the chief of staff or to parliament that the president is out. Once that is not done, then we have a problem. That's where we have a problem. But if not, in certain instances, both of them are out and the speaker takes over. and we have had a peaceful transition of power going back to the president when he comes back. So I don't see a problem of the president and the vice leaving office, even including the speaker. Even the speaker, in some instances, all three can be out of the office. And then the deputy speaker takes over the position of presidency. That is the law. So even if the speaker is not there, the president is not there, the vice president is not there, I think the deputy speaker becomes the president of the Republic of Ghana as at that time, not the chief justice. I don't think so. That is the quote I. Now, issue of the NDC, Sammy Gyamfi, issue of, giving out money to a pastor, I guess, I don't know her name very well, but I'm being told it's a pastor, and that he was giving dollars to it, and some section of the political divide are saying that he should resign, and others are saying he should apologize. I think morally, the Ghanaian people are upset because it was a hard currency. That is where I think the problem is. That's why some Ghanaians are talking. If not, political leaders, including those sitting down there, they know that when we go for political activities, there are donations from people to the party in millions. Even among party hierarchy, they donate to party activities in millions. People go to church and donate to churches. People go to mosques. As government officials, as political leaders, as individual workers, they donate to political parties, they donate to their churches, they donate to orphanages, and they donate to several institutions in huge amount of money than what Honorable Sammy Gyamfi has just done. But the fact of the matter still remains that while he was giving out, let's also think in this aspect. He was holding his money. I'm told he was out of Ghana cedis, and he had some small dollars for some kind of emergency. And once he was holding that money, the lady came and begged him for food. As a gentleman, he moved into his car and tried to remove the little money he has for emergency and counted and was given to the lady. But if you look at the video, the lady then took all away from him, grabbed the money. A gentleman will not say, no. Are you being with me?
Yeah,
are you with
yes,
me?
yes.
So as a gentleman, he gave her the money, but this lady being another, pretended as if she was taking the one on the left, took the one on the left and also took the one on the right. I don't think that that was fair for the lady to take video of it, capture it, and then send it out to the social media. And then people are calling for Sammy Gyamfi to resign. For me, why must he resign? I don't think that his resignation is important at the moment, because this was not in his office he was doing it. It was out of the office. He's gone out to do his activities. Everybody has dollars. Everybody has it,
right?
Including you, and you have some. I guess if I come to the office and you decide to give some to me, I will take it. Are you with me? And then let's just make sure that we limit the usage of dollar in the system, because we also want our currency, the Ghana cedi, to appreciate as it's doing now. And I will not be shocked for the cedi to hit a single digit. And I will be very proud and happy if the Ghanaian cedi hits a single digit against the dollar. Because businesses are collapsing, businesses were running in deficit, businesses where many businessmen were coming out of business because of the high cost of the dollar, the high weight of the dollar against the Ghana cedi. So now that the cedi is appreciating, we are all happy. We are very, very happy. I am extremely happy with it, because we are now becoming millionaires again. We were millionaires, but when the dollar went up to 16.4, we became something than millionaires. Now that it's going less, we are becoming millionaires again, and we can do more business. Then the third one, what was the third one we spoke about?
The third one was party officials now holding public offices. Party executives.
Yes, I think that it is fair in every political party. They have constitution. Every political party has what is called a constitution, besides the Constitution of Ghana. In that constitution, it allows members of the party to hold positions as political party members, at the same time can also work under the office of the presidency or become part of government. Because don't forget, they worked to bring the party to power. They were the men. they are the men who are supposed to also occupy the same position they work for. So you cannot say that we should work and bring the party to power, and then we say all of you go home and sit down. So who are they going to employ now? Because we did the working to bring the party to power by making the promises we made, making sure that our policies were properly advocated, our policies got to the reach of everyone, our manifesto was heard by everybody and listened to everyone. We defended the manifesto in radio stations, TV stations, and whatever. And at the end of the day, we should go home and sit. If you remember, somewhere last year, I wrote an article about Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia running for office. And I said that if per the Constitution, Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia is supposed to run for office as president, then he should resign. Because according to the Constitution of Ghana, you cannot hold two portfolios. One as a political leader in one aspect, and then the second as a Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. If that is to be right with the MPP, then Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia should have resigned then and not become a flag bearer of the MPP, because he was holding two portfolios. One, flag bearer of the MPP. Second one, the leader and then the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. So then it debunked that debate that political parties members cannot work for party of government. And that debate started. But people decided that no, let's go back and look at the Constitution and see whether the Constitution talks about Vice President resigning as an ordinary person and running for president. I think we need to look at that also. If we are having this debate now, then we should go back and look at the debate where it says that if you want to run for president, you cannot hold any other office or emolument. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Right.
So we should also look at that and see whether even as president, when he becomes president for the first time and want to run for the second time, will he then be allowed to run for the second term, or must he resign and now run for the second term? So these are clauses we ought to look at them as time goes on, and then we can debate on those constitutional provisions and see whether it is possible to make those amendments, because the Constitution is there for us to look at it as time goes on to make amendments. Because those who wrote the Constitution, who drafted this Constitution, most of them are not alive after that time. And they don't know what is happening today. Today we are in the 21st century, and then we are seeing totally different things that is actually challenging the Constitution. Are you with me?
Yes.
So we ought to look at these things too. Then the last one, which was the last one? Please?
All right. So if you can hold on, we're getting into the discussion of the 120 days. I'll come back to you. So just hold on there as you listen to those in the studio. I'll start off with Doc, with 120 days. There's been different percentages that has been assigned or that has been marked according to the performance of this government. I think the corruption agencies, the highest they gave us was 70 over 100, because of course there are still some of the promises that have not been fulfilled yet. Okay, producers, are you asking us to take a breather and then we come back and? Are we doing that? Okay, so let's take a breather, Doc. When we come back, Mr. Hassan, we're taking just a short break. We'll be back shortly, and then we'll touch on 120 days. Be back shortly.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story. But he needs not stay down for long. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
Whether you're a wholesaler, retailer, or consumer, MNC Logistics and Trading is your trusted partner in minerals and food commodities trading. Experience the difference with MNC Logistics and Trading for your commodities trading. We operate a well-equipped laboratory that smelts and assays gold to ensure transparent, credible, and reliable minerals transactions. Our general food commodity market deals with imports and exports of food products such as rice, sugar, and grains. We pride ourselves on delivering products that meet the highest standards of quality and taste. With our expertise in international trading and logistics, we bridge customers far and wide. Locate us at number 4 Neosai Interfo Avenue, East Legon, Accra. Call us on 030-299-8246 or visit our website www.mnclogisticsandtrading.com. MNC Logistics and Trading, hub of confidence.
Okay, welcome back to the program. I still have Hassan Ayerga on phone, and I have Dr. John Osei-Kwapong with me in the studio, and also Nana Ofori also with me with the PPP. Doctor, let me start off with you. We have just a few minutes to go, but we'll try and touch on it. First of all, how do you rate the performance under the 120-day social contract? I'm sure you've gone through the contract. Mm-hmm. And for the records, it's 25. We've always been confusing ourselves on air because the numbering, there was a skip. Mm-hmm. I think number 22 or so. So let's put that on record.
Oh, okay. So it's not 26.
No,
it's not
it's 25.
It's 25.
I mean, if you look at the 25 things and the ones that, I mean, the fairest assessment is these are things that the president said, if elected, I would initiate. Start putting in place. So I think there are about maybe 17 that can fully get that check off. And then there were a couple where it's in progress, and in his address he gave some updates on that.
Yeah.
For me, my assessment, my approach in assessing the 120-day social contract are the things that are outlined and the ones that have been checked off, giving us some positive indication of how the John Mahama administration wants to govern the country, right? That the places where he's indicating would be important areas of priority in terms of whether it's policy. Are these the right things to be looking at to set your government on the right path as you begin to govern the country? And my answer to that is yes. It is important that he promised, a lean government in terms of the number of ministers. It is important that he said a code of conduct should be part of his administration. Yeah. He mentioned a couple of other things. All of those things are important things that he wants to put in place. The ultimate question of what difference will all of these things make, that takes time. Right? It takes time to implement policy, have it bear fruit for the people of Ghana to be able to feel it. So that, for me, is a long-term thing that time will tell how all of these policies play out. The key thing for me that I'm still looking at is the 24-hour economy, right? Because that was a signature policy that was promised during the campaign. I know he gave some updates in his address, but I'm still waiting to see how all the moving parts
full force.
come together
so under
in
the
one
policy, he said commence drafting of needed legal amendments and prepare for the implementation of the 24-hour economy. So at the end of the 120-day social contract period, we're expecting that the drafting has commenced.
Correct. And for me, I'm also thinking a little beyond the 120 days. That says it's the one area that I'm still seeing how the legislation, the different pieces would all come together in one comprehensive policy document backed by legislation that would clearly lay out what the structure of incentives would look like, which sectors would be priority sectors, things like that. Because, again, that was very central to the party's economic message in the lead up to 2024. And so that, for me, is one of the initiatives that sooner rather than later, beyond the 120 days, I'm hoping will be fully rolled out by this government.
Right. Anna?
You know, I always ask myself, Annie, where did this social contract emanate from? It emanated, and this is part of the reason why MPP lost. They didn't listen to the people. And let me tell you why. You brought Momo tax, whatever it is. The people said no. You BS the people, and you did it. And somebody sitting quietly somewhere saying, they have goofed. So he comes and he says, when I come, I'll remove it. You had a huge government machinery. Everybody was complaining about it. Hey, Nana, do something about it. You didn't mind anybody. And some wise person sitting there says, oh, I'll have a lean government when I come. Then you are there and you are ignoring local indigenous banks. You close it down. You say it will be 9 billion to close it down. Before we find out, it's 25 billion.
30 billion now.
Where is the differential? So somebody says, when I come, I'll launch an investigation into it and we'll look for the corporates and we'll deal with it.
So you're saying that this 120-day contract emanated from the mistakes of the government?
It emanated from a non-listening government. That's why they lost.
Wow.
That is why the MPP lost. And somebody sat there and looked at their flaws and couched it in a contract with the people and said, when I come, I'll do this. And you are wondering why there was such a wide gap. The analysis is wrong. They should look at this document and review it and say, so we didn't do this. We didn't do that. We were not listening.
But they also promised to remove e-levy. They promised to do 50-size government.
That was so insulting to the Ghanaian people. And they showed him at the polls. You are in government. You have the power. And you are saying that re-elect me. If you re-elect me back into power,
the mistakes
I will come and do this and that. But when you recognize the mistake and you are in power, why didn't you do it? That is why people voted against them. It was arrogance of power and the disrespect of the Ghanaian intellect. Now, the 120-day social contract is not everything that we are going to use to evaluate this government. And this is the KPIs that we used to do.
Yes.
I come to you, I set my KPI. So the president has set his own KPI. 25 things he will do within 120 days. That is why he's scoring high, because he has come with the KPIs. But this is not the only thing that we are going to judge President Mahama on. There are many other things that are not in this 25 points that will help to determine his presidency. But this also is not an evaluation of impact. The impact is down the line.
Okay, so I mean, it's interesting you mentioned the word, because a couple of interviews with MPP officials are asking for what has been the impact.
But how can you ask for impact in 120 days? It's a journey. And in the journey, there are some key steps that must be taken in order to be able to complete the process. So within the 120 days, and it's also a European concept, Annie. We're borrowing from Americans 100 days, and we have now made it 120 days. But you see, what we forget is that the systems in the US and other places are more robust. And you are able to start seeing things in a shorter period because of the systems that are in place. In our part of the world, the manifestation of some of these things take longer. And so when you go and you borrow a foreign idea and you bring it to your backwoods and you are implementing it, you're going to have challenges because already you set yourself up by setting these timelines that are not necessarily applicable to your condition. So you borrow 100 days or 120 days from elsewhere, but you should probably be talking about 6 months, or you probably should be talking about 9 months. But we borrow certain things, forgetting about our condition. And that is why sometimes we have so many challenges, because you bring a square into a round hole. And then we use the tools that are used internationally to analyze you locally, when you should be having a different set of tools based on your situation and your country and what you need to do to get yourself out of the doldrums. So, for example, President Mahama has made this, I know we haven't talked about it, but he made a significant statement in Lomé about asking all heads of states, Africans, to have one voice, especially as they prepare to go to the G20. And this echoed the sentiments of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who has been talking about having a unified economy for us to be able to be strong. This is echoing Dr. Ivan van Sertima's call for us to be culturally strong and to see our significance in the world stage. Sheikh Anta Diop, Professor Ali Muzuri, all these people have been calling for the same thing. So President Mahama calling for it is in the right. All of these things will have an impact on how his government will go, how Africa will rise, and all of those things. Right now we are seeing appreciation of the cedi. For us to be sustainable, for us to be strong, you must be thinking about your neighbors. That is why in particular, one of the things that I judge him on that is not in this 25 thing is appointing a Sahelian person to deal with the issues of the Sahelian neighbors that we have.
It was so critical that it should have been part of it.
It should have been here because, you see, they have been ignored. ECOWAS has left these people to fight on their own. But you saw the wisdom in bringing them closer and bringing a Sahelian ambassador to them to help us have the commonalities. Because we share borders, and when things happen, there's a spillover effect. And you cannot listen to Europeans and ostracize your own African brother in part of the developmental process. So these are some of the things that I am happy about to see happening. And also the other stuff that I believe should happen. You don't own your economy if your people don't own banks and financial institutions in your nation. So you cannot rely on foreign people owning financial institutions for you to have independence. It is they repatriate their profits, they do all of that. But if you encourage the local indigenes to partake, look, a lot of the Dufour's Bank and Dr. Ndung's Bank and Bongo's Bank and all these people, UT and all these, their banks, check their history. They were giving credit to local market women and the rest and contractors, for which the other foreign banks don't like to partake in that microeconomy. But it is the microeconomy that will sustain us and build us and get us out of where we are. These other people want to deal in oil. They want to deal in big ticket items. They don't want to deal with you and I, Annie. Until we bring such players into the financial sector, we will continue as a nation to have problems. So that thing too, I wanted to see as an extension to make sure that Ghanaians are owning the financial sector and they are big players in the financial sector. So you go to Nigeria, you see Nigerians holding the financial sector and doing their thing. We should do the same thing. Why are you afraid to grow billionaires on your own land? But you rather grow a foreigner.
Right.
And let them repatriate the profit back to their country.
Right.
So these are some of the broader things that I was discussing that will come out of the 25 KPIs. There are other KPIs that we'll use to evaluate the government. But if it is the 25 KPI, he's scoring very high on achieving those things.
What's your score?
My score, high 80s.
Oh, wow. High 80s.
Yeah, high
that can
80s.
be 88 or 89 or even 90. Doc, what's
Because
your score?
remember, it's a KPI.
Yes.
That he set himself for. It's not the KPI that we have set.
Set for him.
We have different KPIs.
Doc, what's your score?
Well, I think I would score it qualitatively instead of putting a specific number on it.
So what would be your qualitative?
So my qualitative assessment would be those things are positive things that sets his government on the right path, in the right footing.
Trajectory, okay. Let's engage Hassan. Hassan Ayarga, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. Let's hear you.
Yes. 120 days social contract. I think that if I want to be fair, looking at the number of achievements or the number of points able to score, 26, that means 20 out of 26, then we will say 77% of what he has promised Ghanaians he has achieved. He has achieved 77% of a social contract with Ghanaians. For me, I want to look at them holistically, one by one, and then also say my own opinion. There has been some achievement that they have been able to chop. If you look at, first of all, number one is the lean cabinet formation. Appointing 56 ministers and deputies is the smallest number in Ghana's Fourth Republic. Be able to say that a lean government, the John Mahama Nana government, has in history brought a lean government to our country, and it is something many other governments would like to look, or many other countries would like to look in the future. Then the most important aspect too is the code of conduct implementation. When you come with a lean government and you appoint 56 ministers, then you must have certain code. That code will be able to guide them so that they don't misbehave. They don't think they are above the law. They also don't think that Ghana's wealth is for them. People must know that the resources given to you, it is given to you because somebody did not perform better. And you have been given the nod to do better. So when given that, I am happy that this code of conduct was implemented so that our ministers, deputy ministers, and other CEOs will behave in a certain way that will help build our country, devoid of people thinking that they are above the law. Then number three, you look at the National Economic Dialogue. It is very important because I have these policies that I've also put in place if I become president. And it look at see they are looking at some of these policies and they are, implementing them one after the other. It is important for us to have a dialogue on how everybody thinks the state of this country should go, how we should manage this country, how we should manage this economy. Everyone's view, it is important. Doesn't matter whether you're NDC member, MPP member, APC member, CPP, or any other political party. Once there was an economic dialogue on this to discuss the economy of Ghana and to move forward, that is another thing that they have achieved that is also making me very happy. Then number four, you look at the abolition of specific taxes. They promise that when they come, they will abolish certain taxes, which my brother also made mention of it, that the MPP did not look at those things And then it was one of the reasons why they lost the election. And I tell you, the NDC promised abolishing certain taxes like the e-levy, the emission tax, the betting tax, and other tax burdens that were facing the Ghanaian citizens. And President Mahama, to be very sincere with him, was able to fulfill that promise of eradicating those taxes. And I can tell you that it is good for us. A country is built based on taxes, but not unnecessary taxes that will put the people out of business. And when you implement unnecessary taxes that will make the economy steam and people cannot breathe, then definitely people are losing out of business. People are coming out of business and the economy becomes tough for any other person to manage. Then the issue of accelerated export development. You know, they formed a council, a 19-member council, to promote export. This is what we have been trying to do. We are not producing, manufacturing, and industrializing. All we do is to import. And the CD became a very weak currency in the world. And that has become a problem for us that Ghana, we are just consumers, we don't produce. So did we come to this world to escort the rest of the world, or are we going to be like China, to become a giant of Africa in our own capacity, that we can produce anything in this country and stop importing oil, fish, granules, and all these cooking oil and all those things? Why do we have to import? After several years of independence, then the issue of free tertiary education for persons with disability. I mean, it's a good thing that many people who are disabled do not get access to education. And once they don't get access to education, certain chunk of our men and women are left behind. And as a matter of fact, do not call themselves human beings when they see themselves. But with this policy, now we have people, look at the guy who did TikTok, for instance. It's a disabled man. If we have people like this who can build a social platform called TikTok, and today the world is enjoying from that kind of platform, and it's a disabled man, assuming he was left somewhere in China to struggle to survive, do you think such a person would have had the brains to build that social platform called TikTok that has become #1 in the world? So let's give priority to disabled people to be part of us, so that we can make sure that we have these people being part of our governance system and building our economy. Then you talk about the non-academic fee policy. Let's be honest. Many people come from villages where their parents and their families cannot afford their academic fees. And bringing the first year non-academic fee policy, I said it in my manifesto that education will be free in Ghana from primary to tertiary. But they have implemented the non-academic fee policy, which is very good. And they also implemented the free sanitary pad for our young ladies who get so much infection because they cannot afford sanitary pads. And in the end, they have sicknesses like cervical cancers and all that thing that kills them prematurely. And nobody's looking at it. Our young girls will have to, excuse my language, will have to follow certain people in order to be able to get some access of money to buy sanitary pads. Even the students, you know how many of them, my good sister, you know it, how it is, the cost of sanitary pads is, my daughters buy them. It's about 35 cedis. So if you don't have 35 cedis for a week, then you can think of what you ask what they are going to do. Then the issue that has been very controversial, and I think they are struggling to understand it, is the ban of illegal mining in forests.
Yeah.
This is a problem all political parties have signed. I was part of it, to make sure that we ban illegal mining in our forest reserve and protect our water body. I think the NDC is doing well in their 120 days. They still have more to do, which of course it is at initial stages. 120 days to be able to do all these things. I mean, 77% is good to say that they have achieved. Then the energy sector reforms.
Right.
You know that.
Maybe finally because of time.
Okay. You want me to talk? I'm coming to the 24-hour economy because we have to look at all these issues.
Apologies. I'm sure.
Yes,
I'm sure we.
Then there are also challenges. Don't forget, I'm praising them on their 120 days, but I also have challenges that is facing their 120 days, which I wanted to also bring on board. But since I'm not in the studio and you're not giving me that much time, I will just summarize. Now, if you look at the apprenticeship program that they went and launched, it's going to help young Ghanaians who do not have jobs to be able to get startup capitals to build themselves all around the country. This is one thing that will help build billionaires, like my good friend was talking about the issue of building Ghanaian banks, supporting Ghanaian banks. These are the things that we need. Or you support the Ghanaian bank, they are able to build Ghanaian young entrepreneurs and startups. Because when there is financing for them, they will be able to do well. Then the 24-hour economy issue. Let me just give, as you're aware, that it's also part of my manifesto. But you see, the 24-hour economy has its things. And for now, what they need is the infrastructure, which entails a lot. And they have to sit properly. And I don't think that this year, it will be very easy for them to rule the 24-hour economy in 120 days. But I think going forward in about 4, 5, 6 months more, and if they are able to put proper infrastructure system in place and human resource and build up businesses, the manufacturing, the industry, and the production company. These are the companies that need the 24-hour economy to start.
All right.
What are we producing? We produce at 8 hours in the morning, we manufacture 8 hours in the afternoon, and we industrialize 8 hours in the evening. That gives a 24-hour cycle round the clock. Manufacturing, production, industrialization.
All right. All right. Hassan, we'll leave it here. And just to save myself before they even take us off air, time is up. But also for the records, I know that government has started, implementing some of the 24-hour economy in the public sectors. So we know Foreign Affairs is doing something. We also know that the Vehicular Driver's License Office is also doing something. I think there's one more. About 3 of the public officers have started doing something. So maybe the government is setting an example, citing an example of how it's going to take over. But the most important thing is how the private sector will take advantage, which is why the law is, necessary. Anyway, so waiting for that. But for now, let's draw the curtains. I don't have much time for 1 minute each. So, Doc, apologies for that. I'm sure we'll have that another time and then engage you some more on these issues. But Dr. John Osai Kwapong is a CDD fellow. We earlier on had Christian Malm Hesse, who is a legal practitioner. Nana Osu Ofori also joined us. He is a national chairman for the PPP. And Dr. Hassan Ayariga, also founder of APC, joined us via phone as well. Gentlemen, I thank you for your time this afternoon. My name is Ania Fompofo, and that's what we have for you. We're back tomorrow with another program to discuss matters of the country. Thanks for watching.
Hi viewers, current affairs, history, English, sports and more. Introducing the Metro King Show.
Ghana took its name from the Ghana Empire, an ancient empire that inhabited nearly land centuries ago. What does the word Ghana mean?
Old Ghana.
That's wrong. Samuel, what's your answer?
Beland.
That's also wrong. In which region of Ghana is Huni Valley located?
Western region.
More momo for your pockets. Come on. What does Accra mean?
Accra means ant.
Ant. Correct answer.
Over to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Metro Quiz Show.
back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day on Metro TV, la 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 live on television.
And la 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 on television. This is on Metro TV.
People pick the records, and you see every time we wipe the record. There's a reason why we wipe the record, because the records, they gather dust.
These days people want to be on radio because they think it gets you popular. I mean, back in the day, we could sit there was a place at Choice FM called the Pentagon, and we could have a discussion about songs, and you think it was a political debate.
I remember those days at the Ghana Film Theatre, films were released almost every week. New films, and we saw long queues of people trooping to go to watch films. And then we also had video centers.
But then I think the plus we had was the fact that there were people we looked up to, and we didn't just look up to them. We served them, and they actually taught us.
Yeah.
Kofi Dixon and that team, they started playing Hip Life. When they started playing Hip Life wasn't called Hip Life. It didn't have a name.
You are watching Back in the Days with Sammy B on Metro TV.
Back in the day on Metro TV.